So I'm going to follow up from the recording I did the other day, where I've just beginning to uncover a self, which I described at that time as being very self-focused and achievement-driven. And so, I've really allowed myself to go into the friggin' extremes of this experience, because we always know it's a self when we experience extreme reactions, extreme shifts in mood from one pole to the other pole. And that's, we follow the scent, and really go into these uncomfortable feelings and the answers to what we're not seeing, like what we're not seeing in our own psychology. It starts to become clear. So it hasn't been clear for quite a while, but I just thought, keep doing it, just go in there. And so basically, so if I can describe sort of the emotional pattern that's been happening, the normal me in the past has been really full on, let's go for it, very enthusiastic, zealous, really driven, just so excited about this spiritual path. And when the illness hit me, that was I don't know, maybe it's 3 weeks ago now, before it was hitting me, and I could feel the infection sort of starting in my body, and I did a lot of invoking of light, and I was just determined, like, no, it's not going to get me. I was really convinced that this would not affect me, that I was above it. Who was the I who was above it? So when it hit me, I felt really bad. I felt, physically awful, and also I felt psychologically awful because, I had failed, and this self was in action. So anyway, and I managed to get onto antibiotics, and that really, I'm not fully past the infection, but they really blasted away the intensity of it, because it was pretty serious. It was not a nice experience, and I really didn't want to sort of be stuck in that physical experience for too long. Anyway, so since then, I've been going through these waves into either very, very deep, I'm talking crushing depression, and then just kind of just a real nothingness, like, not good, not bad, not happy, not sad, just completely neutral, which, I know that's really the best place to be, because when you're neutral, that's where there's no layering covering how you're acting, how you're interpreting. There's no judgment happening. But so let me just sort of explain. So I'd sort of, maybe the last maybe 5 days, I've just sort of changed my camp where I'm staying, and gone to some new places, and just had lovely, like this, just lovely peaceful bush where I'm alone, and I just have space to sort of just heal with the elements, and to look within. So for maybe about 5 days or a week, I've just been feeling this flat neutrality. And yesterday I woke up and I was feeling, this flat neutrality again. And I think, and something happened where I judged that. Like, I felt like I judged it as being depression, or I thought there was something wrong with it. I can't say exactly what went through my mind. There was no real clear process. But what I can say from today's perspective, 24 hours later, is that this zealous, upbeat self, which I had defined myself by, I'd really identified as being, a very passionate, upbeat, positive person. It was this self that was judging that there was something wrong, and judging this flatness as being depressed, and I went back into a depression as a result, because I couldn't shift it. Well, this self couldn't shift it. So, there was just, so the neutrality went into crushing, awful chronic depression. It was absolutely horrible, and a familiar feeling. It's something that I've experienced a lot of in my life. These extremes. And, a lot of my life was marked with chronic depression, very bipolar. It's a common experience for many. So from today's perspective, I'm just back to, just not good, not bad, not happy, not sad, nothing, just neutral, somewhere in between. But today I feel like this wonderful sense of peace, because I'm finally seeing it. I'm finally seeing, oh my God, I've had this, my normal has been, this really, it's not real. I think I have a natural fervour and a natural excitement and passion for spirituality and for following this path. But this self had stepped in, and it's gone, it was a part of my ego. It had stepped in and it had hijacked that. And it was kind of, my ego was really quite happy with, great, we don't really want you following the spiritual path, but, we do, see, it's a we, this ego, we do want, we do want to actually control you. So I'm looking back at everything, and the masters have talked about this, that, there's this spiritual self that we develop, and once that we come along and find the Ascended Master teachings, we get excited, and this self comes in and goes, yeah, I can use this, no worries. And because I've been so acclimatized to this filter, this overlay, this program running all the time, I didn't see it coming. How can you see something when you're in it? It's been playing out, but I'm only seeing it now because, the masters and my I am presence will only allow that momentum to play out for only so long. At some point, there comes a point where we need to be, where the challenge just hits us, and the challenge had hit me at last. And I'm grateful, as much as it's been, very painful. I'm really grateful that the challenge has happened, and it's been happening in many ways. And there was one of my key turning points on the spiritual path, and it was before I officially sort of discovered the masters, but I know this was coming from the masters. I was doing yoga one day, and I was really present, doing every move, and just just really focusing on my muscles and my joints and every single asana that I was holding, and but then the mind, the ego started blah blah blah, just chatting away, and I was taken away from presence. And then clear as crystal, this voice said, it doesn't care about you. And I realized it was talking about the ego doesn't care about me. And I just thought, shit, why am I entertaining something and allowing something to affect my life so significantly, and it doesn't care about me? I'm allowing something to play in me day after day, minute after minute, second after second. This ego, it doesn't care. It has no care for my well-being. It just wants to survive. That's all. So, I'm looking at the pattern of this, very strong, I guess it's kind of a spiritual self. It's very self-focused. So, if I look into, I have a lot of insight into past lives, and some I've seen clearer than others. But, if I look really honestly, I've played out the role of being, the great passionate leader, full of passion and power and zeal to lead others. I've been the preacher, I've been the missionary, so, the one that's just come along and fired up to try and, inspire others to raise up higher. And so I've played that role. And I know I've also come into lifetimes where I've gone to the complete opposite of being, the monk, secluded on a mountain, very meditative and quiet and still and not interacting with people. Like, there was even one lifetime where I was a monk in Argentina, and I believe I was deaf. Interesting that I'm still part deaf right now with this ear infection, but it'll clear, I'm sure. But anyway, in this lifetime I was a deaf monk, and apparently what I do, I lived alone. I'd meditate and pray, and then each day I'd just, get my staff and I'd walk down the mountain. It was like a zigzag walk, down, and I'd be herding goats, and I'd be taking the goats down the mountain to the bottom and doing whatever you do with goats, and then, and I suppose letting them graze, and then herding them back up the mountain, zigging zagging. And I was deaf, I was cut off from society, just living, a truly ascetic sort of a lifestyle. And that sort of shows, I know I wanted to go back into that experience in this lifetime, but that's when I was shown the vision of this past life. I just wanted to withdraw again. I wanted to be cut off and left alone to my spiritual journey. But the calling was, and this is long before the Masters, the calling was, no, it's time. You've got to go back and you've got to be in the world. This time it's not about escaping it all. So, hence has followed the huge journey of finding balance to this. So, I feel like finally I'm seeing this incredible zealous self that's been playing out. And I'm seeing, the discouraged, almost the complete polar opposite of that self, the one that just wants to withdraw from everything, from society. And the good thing is that with my lifestyle I can, and sometimes it's okay, I just need to withdraw. But also, I'm not alone. There are people around, and I do interact when I want to. So anyway, I'm seeing it, and I hope that, well, I don't know, I don't hope anything. Maybe you'll recognise it in yourself, but really you can't recognise it until you see it. See, that's the thing. So I'm glad to have shared, and been honest and open about my experience. And I don't know. 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 I know nothing. I know nothing. I know nothing. There you go. I've shared it. It's done. I don't think there's anything more to say. I just wrote some notes and yeah, I've talked about it. So there you go.